I'm glad you guys found my video again today on our channel Whispers of Cronaria. We diving into the story of zombie world. The world which is scary and does not show mercy on anyone. Abandoned cities, rusted cars, overgrown pounce across the buildings and on the roads. A really dark world of zombies. My name is Elias Ward, former military biologist, last recorded immune subject, and as far as I know, the only man still breathing in this graveyard of steel and dust. 3 years ago, I watched my world collapse in real time, watched neighbors turn into pale, mindless predators of the night, watched families disappear behind locked doors that didn't stay locked for long, watched the city itself rot into something unrecognizable. Everyone except the ghosts I carry in my head. I don't talk much anymore, except to myself. Silence can eat you alive if you let it. But I'm still here. I search for food in daylight. I barricade myself when the sun goes down. I survive because survival is all I have left. Because something in me refuses to die in the dark.
Hey.
And if you can hear this, if anyone is out there, I'm Elias Ward. I'm still fighting, and I will not let this city take me. Morning hits differently in an empty world. It's not light, it's permission. The sun gives me a few hours where I'm allowed to move, breathe, exist. After that, when the sun dips, this city stops pretending it's a graveyard, and the things inside it begin to remember what they hunger for. I push open the rusted door of my safe house, letting daylight spill into the room like water into a cracked bowl. My boots crunch on broken plaster. The silence has a weight I've learned to live with, and fear. This used to be Silverwood City. Glass towers, markets, kids running through fountains. Now the streets look like a photograph, abandoned and fire, partly real, partly ghost. I shoulder my backpack, check the straps, and whisper out loud just to hear a voice. Another day, Elias. Don't lose your mind yet. Of course, talking keeps me sane. So does routine. Routine is survival. Gun, knife. These are the essentials you need for survival, right? The most precious thing we have left, my friends, is light. Light. I step outside. The familiar smell hits me dust, rust, dried blood, and the sour scent of decay rising from storm drains. I scan the street, burned cars, vines crawling over traffic lights, shop windows shattered. The wind whistles through hollow buildings like the city itself is trying to talk. I move toward the pharmacy 3 blocks down. Supplies. Every step is calculated. I walk in the middle of the road, never close to alleys, never near doorways, because the shadows cling to them like predators waiting to breathe. My heartbeat stays calm, though a tremor runs through my hands, the kind that comes from living on instinct for too long. Right in the middle of the road, I catch a glimpse of it. Fresh claw marks streak across the delivery van, leaving a wild, mysterious mark. My breath catches, my chest tightens. These aren't old, these aren't weathered, they're new. I crouch, studying the metal, for deep rakes curved inward. The creatures don't come out in daytime, unless they're starving, desperate, evolving. A pulse of dread runs through me, cold and electric. Not now, I whisper. Not during daylight. I grip my weapon tighter, keep going. Inside the pharmacy, dust coats everything like a second skin. Shelves half collapsed, jars broken. Sunlight spills through holes in the ceiling, making floating debris look like glowing insect. Crack! Something shifts behind the counter. My body freezes, breath halts in my throat. That sound wasn't from me. I lift my gun, slow, deliberate. Step, step, toward the counter. A soft groan low, almost like someone trying to breathe without lungs. My mouth dries instantly. My heart smashes against my ribs. I lean over just enough to see a creature. Pale, skeletal, crouched in a pool of shadow despite daylight filtering in. Its eyes are sealed shut, but its ears twitch violently. Daywalker, no. Half-turned. It's weak for full sunlight, but strong enough to linger. Its chest expands once, twice. Then the head jerks toward me. It heard me, knocking down a shelf. The creature shrieks high, broken, like metal scraping bone, and lunges forward blindly, driven only by smell and sound. Shit, I fire twice. The blasts echo like thunder across the empty city. The creature my hands shake uncontrollably. This is new. They don't come out in the day. They're not supposed to. The rule that kept me alive for 3 years just broke. I stand there, breathing hard, sweat sliding down my forehead, my pulse hammering in my ears. For a moment, I feel genuinely afraid. Not the usual background fear, but a suffocating realization they are changing. I back away. Get out of the pharmacy fast. Out. In the street, sunlight feels thinner somehow, and then I notice something else. Shape at the far end of the road. A man standing upright, staring at me. My chest seizes. Survivor. A hallucination. A trap. Blink once, twice, and he's gone. Vanished behind a toppled bus. My heart races so fast I taste blood. No, that's impossible. I feel dizzy. I feel hopeful, terrified, confused, all at once. 3 years alone. It's 3 years without seeing another human face. Then suddenly someone. Every instinct screams follow him. Every survival rule screams run back to your safe house now. I take one slow breath, trying to calm the storm inside. All right, I whisper shakily. Someone's alive, I need to know. But deep in my gut, another voice whispers back, what if he wasn't alive? I tighten my grip on the strap of my backpack and step in the direction where the figure disappeared. The city feels like it's holding its breath, and I walk straight into whatever truth is waiting. I kept replaying it in my mind, the silhouette of a man standing at the end of the street watching me. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a trick of the light. Something was there. My footsteps echoed as I approached the overturned bus where he vanished. The metal shell was covered in claw marks and ash, its windows shattered like jagged teeth. Dust swirled at its base, carried by a lazy afternoon breeze. My heart thudded in my chest with a rhythm I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I forgot how heavy hope felt. Dangerous. Hello, my voice cracked out of disuse. If you're human, if you're alive, I'm not here to hurt you. Silence. A thick, suffocating silence that wrapped around my ribs and squeezed. I climbed over broken glass, circling the bus slowly, gun raised but lowered enough to not look threatening. Sweat trickled down my palms. I scanned shadows, doorways, the hollow dark beneath the bus. Nothing. Just the city breathing cold air. I swallowed hard. Maybe I imagined him. Maybe the creature in the pharmacy rattled my mind. Or maybe someone really was here, and they didn't want to be found. I turned to retreat, then I felt it, presence behind me. Not sound, not movement. Pressure in the air like someone inhaled sharply right at my back. My chest locked, my muscles froze. Every instinct screamed, don't turn around, but I did. Slowly, and there he was. A man thin, sunburnt, wearing shredded clothes, standing less than 10 feet away. His eyes were wide, unnaturally wide, filled with both fear and something else. Something wild. Easy. I breathed, raising my hands. I'm not infected. I'm immune. His lips trembled. He looked at my hands first, then my face. Then he did something I didn't expect. He sniffed the air, violently, like an animal. My stomach dropped. No, Don't tell me. His voice cracked through his throat like broken glass. Don't. Follow them. Don't. Follow who? I asked urgently. Your humanware? Have you been hiding? How long? He stepped back, shaking his head rapidly. His eyes darted around the street. They see everything. They watch you in the day now. You shouldn't be out here alone. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. You saw them? The daywalker in the pharmacy? Didn't answer. Instead, he whispered, barely audible, no more sun, no more rules. Then he lifted his shaking hand and pointed past me, toward the open boulevard. I turned, and my blood turned to ice. Dozens of shadows moved inside a partially collapsed parking structure, hidden from the sun, but standing upright, pressing against the darkness, as if waiting for me to step closer. Their pale skin glistened. Their bodies trembled with hunger, their jaws clenched rhythmically. They were awake at noon. My breath caught painfully in my throat. This wasn't supposed to happen. This breaks everything. Daylight was my only sanctuary. Come with me, I whispered to the man beside me. I can keep you safe. But he was already backing away. I can't. They know me now. They know my scent. What does that even mean? I reached toward him, but he flinched like a cornered animal. They're learning, he said, voice shaking. And they've been watching you too, Elias. My heart slammed against my chest. How do you know my name? He didn't answer. Instead, his eyes widened in terror. He turned and sprinted down the side alley. Wait, I shouted, following after him. Stop. Footsteps thundered on broken asphalt as he darted between buildings. I chased him, lungs burning, legs aching from weeks of conserved movement. The sun dipped behind a passing cloud, and the world darkened just a shade, just enough to spike my fear. He turned sharply around a corner and his scream tore through the air. I froze. Cold fear gripped my organs. I raised my weapon and inched toward the corner. A smear of blood splattered the wall, fresh, wet. The man was gone, dragged quickly, silently. My chest heaved, my throat closed. This wasn't hunting, this was targeted. They waited for him, maybe for me. A low rumble echoed through the alley deep, primal, vibrating the concrete. I stepped back, heart pounding in my skull. The sound grew louder, faster. Claws scraping brick, feet slamming asphalt. Something running toward me. I spun and bolted full speed down the alley, lungs on fire. The roar behind me grew closer, hotter, heavier. I burst into the open street, sunlight stabbing my eyes. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could feel it gaining. I sprinted toward the nearest building with blown-out windows. My legs pumped, boots slamming pavement, breath tearing from my chest. I dove inside through the doorway, slammed the metal reinforcement gate shut, stumbled backward as something massive hit the other side with bone-snapping force. The metal bars groaned, dust rained from the ceiling. My heart hammered so violently it hurt. A pale hand shot through the bars, claws scraping inches from my chest. Its skin bubbled under the sunlight leaking through the doorway. Steam hissed from its flesh as it withdrew, snarling in rage. It waited, just outside, just beyond the threshold, pacing, breathing, wanting me. I collapsed against the wall, chest heaving, sweat dripping down my jaw. They weren't supposed to be strong in daylight. They weren't supposed to hunt in daylight. Something has changed. Something's evolving, and now they know I'm not alone. Now they know I'm looking for others. I pressed trembling fingers to my forehead as the creature's growl vibrated the metal gate. God, I whispered, voice cracking. What are we becoming? The creature paced outside the metal gate for nearly 5 minutes before the sun finally forced it to retreat. Slowly, reluctantly. Even then, it didn't run. It didn't shriek. It watched me with a mind that wasn't supposed to exist. When it finally crawled back into the shadows of the alleyway, its absence felt worse than its presence. Silence rushed in, heavy and shaken. I rested my head against the wall. My neck ached. My heartbeat pounded through my skull, with the dull throb of survival adrenaline wearing off. 3 years alone. 3 years thinking I had the rules figured out. 3 years believing the monsters were predictable. But everything I saw today told me the truth. The sun isn't keeping them back anymore. The rules are dissolving, and something is terribly wrong. I needed to regroup, needed to breathe, think, reset. Before I made a mistake, I couldn't survive. There was only one place I trusted anymore. My safe house, my home, or what passed for one in a dead world. I left the building cautiously, scanning every shadow, every crack in the pavement. My pulse tripped every time the wind shifted. The streets were too quiet, too empty, too observant. I swear the city listened when I stepped on broken glass. I swear the shadows held their breath when I rounded a corner. This place used to be filled with people, commuters, joggers, shopkeepers, kids with oversized backpacks. Now the buildings leaned inward like they were all collapsing into themselves. Like they missed the weight of life pressing between them. Every window looked like an eye. I stayed on rooftops where I could, using old fire escapes and crumbling balconies to stay above ground level. The creatures rarely climbed in daylight. Rarely, but rarely didn't mean anything anymore. By the time I reached the block where my safe house sat, an old townhouse with boarded windows, I was sweating hard. Not from heat, but from tension. My muscles shook every time a pigeon fluttered, every time a metal sign creaked in the wind. I stood outside the door, breath steadying. I checked the street 12 times, then 6 more. Routine, discipline, order. I unlocked all 5 latches, slipped inside, locked them again, and slid the steel bar across the frame. Inside, silence, but a familiar silence, a silence that belonged to me. The first thing I did was kneel beside my companion. Not a dog, not a person, but the closest thing I had left. A cracked photograph frame. Me, my wife Claire, and our daughter, Mara, smiling at the beach 3 weeks before the world fell apart. Mara had sand in her curls. Claire's hair was blowing across her face. I remembered that day so vividly I could still taste the salt from the ocean. I placed the photo down gently, as if touching something fragile and alive. "Hey," I whispered, "I'm home." Talking to them was the only thing that tethered me. I sat in the dim gold light filtering through the boarded windows and let the silence hold me, but not for long. Something inside me still shook violently. That man, the one who knew my name, the one whose blood was still fresh somewhere on a wall outside. How? How did he know me? How long had he been following me? Most importantly, what did he mean when he said they were learning? I tried to push the questions away, but they pressed into my skull like cold fingers. I moved to the basement where I kept my records old notebooks filled with sketches, symptoms, behavior patterns of the infected. I flipped to my earliest notes. Back then, everything was simple. Day was safe, night was death. They burned in sunlight. They feared bright places. But the creature from earlier, its skin bubbling, steaming, peeling, yet it still pushed toward me. Something was mutating. Something was allowing them to adapt. It wasn't supposed to be possible, unless I cut the thought off. I didn't like where it was leading. Not until I had proof. Scratches on the door, I decided to check the perimeter. Habit. Survival. I walked through the hallway toward the back exit, my emergency escape route, and froze. My blood turned cold. There were fresh scratches on the back door. 3 deep gashes. Fresh wood dust on the floor. Dark smears blood. Saliva. My spine tingled like electricity. They had been here at my home, at my door, and not at night. The marks were too crisp. Too new. Too dry. God, I whispered. I pressed my fingers to the grooves. My breath shook. This meant only one thing. They were tracking me. They were getting close. I stumbled back, chest tight. The room tilted for a moment, and I had to brace myself against the cabinet. Why? Why me? Why now? Unless the man was right. They were watching me. They were learning. They had followed me home. Night approached fast. The golden light dimmed. Shadows stretched across the floorboards. The air grew colder, denser, like the whole atmosphere shifted its weight. I sat by the window, holding my rifle, staring through the slats of the boarded panels. My breath softened, my pulse steadied to a slow, anxious rhythm. Then K-N-O-C-K, a single soft tap on the back door. My blood iced. Every hair on my arm stood straight. No one knocks. Not in this world. Not anymore. K-N-O-C-K. K-N-O-C-K. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic. My throat closed. My hands trembled against the gun barrel. They weren't scratching now. They were signaling, communicating, learning how to imitate us. A voice, dry, broken, raspy, whispered through the crack of the door. Elias. My heart stopped. My breath crushed inside my ribs. That voice, it was the man I saw earlier. The man dragged away. Elias. Open. Please. The voice wavered, raw, almost human, but beneath the words, beneath the tone, something else breathed with him, something wet and hungry, something waiting. I stepped back, then further still, because whatever was on the other side of that door wasn't him anymore, and it knew my name. The voice behind the door didn't fade immediately. It lingered, thick, wet, dragging each syllable like its tongue barely remembered how to move. Elias. You left me. My lungs froze mid-breath. I had seen the man die, or at least, I had seen what should have been death. He was bleeding out, lungs shredded, barely conscious. The creatures had dragged him into the dark, and now he was standing outside my door, in the one place I swore nothing could reach me. The pounding started softly, like fingertips tapping wood. Tap, tap, then a pause. Tap. A rhythm, signal, a message. Not human, not random. I raised my rifle, even though the metal trembled in my hands. "Stay back," I whispered, voice cracking. "Please." The tapping stopped. Silence poured through the house like oil. Then something scraped across the outer wall, slow, deliberate like fingernails dragging over stone. And a second voice joined the first. "Elias, let us in." Every hair on my arms lifted, my skin crawled. My jaw clenched so hard the muscles spasmed. Two voices, two former humans, both speaking my name. How many more could speak? How many remembered? And why me? I backed away until my shoulder hit the kitchen counter. The moonlight leaking through the slats painted my knuckles silver. I forced a breath into my burning lungs. "Think, Elias, think." The scratches multiply. I slipped down the hallway, careful to keep the rifle aimed at the back door. A sound rose outside. Not a growl, not a moan. A whispering chorus. Multiple voices breathing in unison. Elias. Footsteps, scrapes, claws sliding across metal, wood fibers cracking under pressure. The back door shifted in its frame, just slightly, barely a nudge, but enough to punch fear straight through my chest. The locks rattled. "Hey!" Man by wet at a bed at a rat where at a wet at a wide for that for fire at a covered Not tonight, you bastards. I reinforced the door with a second steel bar, my hands moving on instinct. But even as I slid the latch into place, the knocking changed. No longer taps, now fists. Boom, boom, boom. Slow, heavy, rhythmic. My heartbeat matched the cadence unwillingly. With each strike, dust drifted from the doorframe. Wood splintered. Metal groaned. They weren't trying to scratch anymore. We're trying to break in. Exactly like humans would. My safe house had 3 exits. Front door to exposed basement hatch to narrow roof access. My only chance, I grabbed my pack, filled with essentials. Ammo, water, photos, my notebook, my radio, my mother's ring. And ran. The pounding behind me grew louder. Boom, crack. They smelled me, heard me, felt the panic rolling off my skin. Halfway up the stairs, I heard a window shatter in the back room. Glass tinkled like ice. Then something heavy climbed through the frame. A wet hiss echoed in the hallway. Too close. I sprinted faster, stumbling once, catching myself on the rusting banister. My lungs burned, my legs shook. At the top floor, I shouldered the door to the roof open. Moonlight hit my face. Cold, sharp. A brief moment of safety. They climbed now. I bolted the roof door behind me, but before the latch slid fully into place. Thud. Something slammed into the other side, followed by a screech that tore straight into my spine. It followed me up the stairs. They were climbing fast. I backed away from the door, raising the rifle. My breath steamed in the night air. The city stretched below, me broken, hollow, drowning in shadows. Empty rooftops, collapsed roads, flickering streetlights that hadn't seen maintenance in years. But under the silence, under that vast black stillness, I felt eyes everywhere, watching, waiting, listening for me. The roof door bulged inward. The hinges screeched. Pale, clawed hand burst through the crack, fingers bending unnaturally, joints cracking, nails scraping metal. I fired. The hand recoiled with a shriek that vibrated the doorframe, but more claws replaced it. 3 sets. 4. A chorus of breathing pressed against the door. Human, not human. Something between. I stepped back until my boots hit the ledge. A sound cut through the night. Not a growl, not a roar, not a screech. A command, deep, hoarse, intelligent, filled with rage. I turned toward the far building and froze. On the rooftop across the alley stood a creature larger than the others, shoulders hunched, chest wide, eyes burning with cold purpose. Its skin was pale, veined, stretched too tight over growing muscle. Its jaw hung slightly open, teeth glinting like cracked stone. It didn't move, didn't snarl, didn't leap. It simply watched me. And when our eyes locked, I felt something shift inside me. Recognition. It knew me. The Alpha raised a hand to the horde at my door. The scratching stopped instantly. The banging halted. The breathing softened and all the creatures fell silent. Not natural silence. Obedience. The Alpha zombie lowered its hand slowly, then pointed one long, trembling finger directly at me. My breath collapsed out of my lungs. Why me? Why always me? The Alpha zombie tilted its head. Then in a rasping, guttural voice, it forced out to agonizing words. Elias Ward. My name, my full name, spoken with meaning, not imitation, not instinct. Intention. The Alpha zombie knew who I was. It wanted me. It had always wanted me. The Alpha zombie's finger stayed pointed at me, unmoving, like a sentence handed down by something ancient and merciless. My rifle felt suddenly small, my breath too loud, a pulse too slow for the terror trying to claw its way out of my chest. The creatures behind the roof door had gone silent, obedient, waiting. The Alpha zombie stepped closer to the edge of its rooftop, and for the first time in years, I wasn't looking at a monster. I was looking at something that had evolved beyond one. Its eyes were wrong, too focused, too calculating. And when the moonlight crossed its face, I saw it clearly. Intelligence, recognition, memory. It remembered me. And then the truth hit like a spike through my spine. The mutation had started with my research, the accelerated neural repair theory, the stimulus response learning trials, the serum that was supposed to slow degeneration. I created the conditions. The virus did the rest. And the Alpha zombie was the result. My breath quivered. This is my fault, I whispered to the empty rooftop. God, this is my fault. The Alpha zombie's lips peeled back in something like a smile. Not human, not animal. Hybrid of purpose and cruelty. Lifted its hand again, and the creatures surged onto the rooftop. I fired wildly at shot, lighting the dark with sharp bursts of burning recoil. Shadows collapsed, shrieked, clawed at the concrete. But there were too many. Far too many. My rifle clicked empty, metal slamming on hollow. I backed toward the very edge of the roof, boots scraping on grit, lungs burning, hands shaking. Creature lunged. I jammed the butt of the gun into its temple. Another grabbed my jacket. I tore free, stumbling. My heel slipped over the ledge. My arms windmilled. I caught myself on a rusted vent pipe, breath tearing from my throat. The horde slowed, one by one stopping, creating a path. A corridor of monsters leading toward me. Because the Alpha stepped forward. It crossed the rooftop with unnatural calm. Every creature bowed its head as it passed. At 10 feet away, I could smell it. The rot, the chemical heat, the metallic burn of evolving tissue. Its voice came out cracked, stitched together by willpower and mutation. Elias Ward, I'm here. The word ripped through me. No, I breathed. I didn't mean I tried to save. Its head tilted. End. There was no hatred in its tone. Just decision. I raised the empty rifle like a spear. My arms trembled. Fear gnawed at the edges of my vision, but I stood firm. I won't run, I whispered. For the first time in years, I saw Claire's face. Mara's curls. The beach wind. Her laughter. My chest tightened until the ache swallowed everything. I'm sorry for all of it. The Alpha zombie moved faster than thought. Claws slammed into my ribs. Bone cracked like dry branches. My breath exploded from my lungs. The world blurred sideways, but I didn't fall. Not yet. I dropped the rifle, grabbed the Alpha zombie by the throat, pulled it close until our foreheads touched. Then take me, I hissed. But this ends with me. The Alpha zombie snarled, confusion, rage, understanding flickering through its eyes. I shoved us both over the edge. Wind roared past my ears, The Alpha's claws tore into my shoulders as gravity dragged us downward. I stared into its eyes the entire fall, saw synapses firing, saw recognition burning bright. And for one brief second, a single heartbeat, it looked almost human again. We hit the ground with a sound I didn't feel. The world split, colors bent, cold rushed through my spine. The Alpha zombie lay crushed beside me, neck broken, chest collapsed, dead for real this time. I exhaled a trembling, broken breath. Above me, the night sky pulsed with stars. The city was silent. Finally, silent. My vision dimmed at the edges. I looked one last time at the world I failed to save. I'm coming home, Claire. Mara. Darkness folded over me like a blanket. And the last human breath in the city left my lungs as the world slipped quietly into a new age. An age without Elias Ward.